Anil Kumar is a highly accomplished engineer leader with nearly 20 years of experience in the communication sector. As a key member of the Exotel team, he is responsible for driving the development of a reliable and scalable communication platform that meets the need of our valued customers. Anil's expertise in communication technologies is unparalleled, with numerous patents and paper publications to his credit. He is committed to staying on the cutting edge technology and using his skill to develop innovative solutions that drive business growth. With a passion of engineering and a deep understanding of the industry, Anil is a valuable asset of Exotel, helping the company to continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in communication technology. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? All right. Good morning. Thankfully, she woke most of you up before I came here. So hopefully this will work. So I'm from Exotel, and today what I want to talk about is how GenAI is transforming not only that, but how can we now take advantage of the transformative power of GenAI along with the humans that use it and bring about a harmony between the humans and AI that will result in improved customer experience, which is what is the future is likely to be. So I want to start all the way back to November 30th, 2022. Actually 2 years ago, almost exactly. You guys know what happened that day? Anybody? No? Somebody said ChatGPT. Who said that? There you go. So OpenAI launched ChatGPT. So actually tomorrow is the 2nd year anniversary of that. Now, it's very rare. In fact, in my lifetime, I haven't seen a technology adoption happening so fast since its launch. GenAI has really been transformative. And when I say adoption, I'm not talking about the people in this room. It's not about the engineers like me, the BPO leaders like you who are adopting it. End users are adopting it at a phenomenal pace. My wife, for example, uses ChatGPT to plan all our trips. My kids use them to write their essays. And guess what? It's hard for me to argue with them saying that this is the new world. And the teachers are adopting to get them to think about concepts rather than looking at what they write, because they know this is what is happening. And the pace at which, all of you must know about Moore's law, right? It doubles at a certain time period. So the power of the technology and the cost, the power is doubling and the cost is reducing half every 3 months. What we started off with in November of 2022 to what we are here today is drastically different in technology. But it's not the technology that causes the lack of adoption everywhere. It's actually the engineering gap. And hopefully today I'll talk about what that means and how that can be used to transform the landscape here. Of course, there's a lot of data that also shows that there is a lot of interest in adoption of GenAI. As you can see, AI in general has been there for donkey's years, right? So we used to talk about AI when I passed out. But the specific adoption of GenAI is happening a lot faster than AI has ever happened, right? And I'll also briefly touch about what's the difference between the two in the coming slides. And there is an inflection point that we predict in the next year that GenAI is going to overtake AI and probably replace a lot of traditional AI technologies and adoptions. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Despite all of these, adoption, especially in the Indian context, is a little lukewarm. And of course, there are reasons for that. And I identified 3 primary reasons. Is there a real revenue impact? Right? And I'm sure all of you are thinking about these things, right? Is there a real revenue impact? Can I make money out of it? What's the real world behavior of GenAI? How do I ensure that the customer experience doesn't suffer? I think some of the earlier speakers spoke about hallucinations, right? So how do I now know that GenAI is not going to go say something that's going to hurt my organizational image and hurt the customer experience? And of course, the biggest part of the element in the room is ROI, right? So GenAI is not cheap. It's very expensive compared to the traditional AI. So is that worth the ROI that we are going to get out of it? So I feel GenAI can be transformative. And when I say transformative, what I mean is it is right in the middle of the intersection where it can improve CX and increase your revenue at the same time reducing the cost. And to get GenAI to do this is not easy. And that's the engineering schism that we need to cross in order to take the technology to actual deployment and realizing the value of GenAI. And from an Exotel and our thought leadership point of view, we believe it is something that can be done through a loop of 3 primary facets of GenAI usage, or what we call as product modules. So hopefully for the rest of the conversation, I'm going to talk about these 3, what they mean, how they're interacting with each other, with the human at the center, bringing about the AI-human harmony can result in the transformative nature of GenAI. So let's start with CQA. So I'm going to do a very quick, short experiment. All of you have your phones. Just open your phone, look at the time, keep it face down. Just take a few seconds to do that. Yes? Now, if I asked you, how many of you can now tell me what the exact time was? Can I see a raise of hands? You just saw it. So yeah, right? 95, almost 100%. What was the percentage of power on the battery? Raise of hands? Dropped to 5, 10%. How many messages had you got on WhatsApp? There are still some who are probably active on WhatsApp. But I hope you're getting the direction I'm going in. Now, in a BPO scenario, I'm sure all of you have what you call as QA analysts, right? So you ask people to listen to the conversations and tell them how the agent is performing, what is the customer saying, and so on and so forth. If you don't tell them what to look for up front, they have to sit and listen again. GenAI doesn't work like that. GenAI has the power to ingest the data in one shot and answer whatever you ask later. That's the advantage of GenAI. And if the GenAI products are built like that, the amount of return on investment that you get can be phenomenal depending on how you use it. In fact, what we have seen is customers not just using complex queries on conversations, and when I say conversation, I'm not talking about the recordings alone. Conversations are across the board. It could be a WhatsApp message that you send to your customer. It could be an SMS that you send to your customer across multiple channels, putting them all together and understanding what is going on with the customer. You can ask complex questions like, is the customer satisfied, to is the agent behaving properly, all the way to getting an NPS. So this is the customer experience insights. So you can actually use GenAI to replace your NPS if you run it across multiple channels and not just support. So you can get the CSAT from support. You can look at the sales stream. You can look at the product stream. You can look at multiple stream and get the entire NPS of the organization. That's the power of conversational quality analysis. So this is the first piece. Of course, it doesn't stop here. This is the starting piece. The second piece, this is a scenario, and I'm sure all of you, including me, I have gone through this, right? So you're trying to do something with an organization. In this case, Amina is trying to pay her insurance, right? She's tried multiple channels, payment is failing, and she calls the support center. Imagine the frustration that she has when they ask her, what is your problem? Right? So how may I help you? Of course, it's going to be done in a very empathetic manner, but still, I have tried so many things with you and you still don't know what I have done. So the missing piece in this case is what we call as context, right? So imagine that there was a website login that Amina did. She tried doing the payment through the link that was there on the website. A message went to her saying, sorry, your payment is declined. Then she went to the WhatsApp bot. The bot said, sorry, your payment is declined. Then she calls the customer agent. And the customer agent asks, how may I assist you? The channels through which you have already communicated to Amina saying that the payment has failed is known to you. If I gave these 3 channels to any one of you and asked you what is the likely reason Amina is calling you, most likely you will say, hey, her payment has failed, so she's calling me mostly for that reason. And that's the missing piece. We define context as a combination of intent, state, and vibe. So Amina is trying to renew her policy. That's the intent. She's irritated because she has tried so many different channels. That's the vibe. And her payment has not yet been made. That's the state. Now imagine the contact center support agent, knowing this context, will be able to address Amina in a very different way. Context improves the way your customer experience happens. That's the second part of the puzzle. So we call this as the context, and we develop this using what we call as a lot of you have heard about CDP, yes? Customer Data Platform. So this is CCDP. It's a new word that we are coining as Conversational Context Data Platform, right? So now, as you can imagine, it makes sense for you to, let's say, have a single vendor who has all your conversational communicational channels, who is now able to pivot the context of that particular customer and give that as a ready-made on the platter to your agents, whether it is bots or humans, right? Makes sense to have a single vendor, by the way, which we are one. The third part, which I'm going to talk about, is called AMC. But before AMC, I want to introduce bots. Now, you might be wondering, 2 years after GenAI and so many years of AI, he wants to introduce bots. There's a nuance that I want to introduce on. I think Hani got in one of his slides the evolution of CCaaS and customer experience, right? And in that, he spoke about NLP 1, NLP 2, and then eventually GenAI. Now, I want to talk about how the technology has transformed and how yet there is a small gap between the lip and the cup still exists. The NLP days are the ones where the technology used to detect keywords, right? Natural language understanding, and detect certain keywords and then, respond accordingly. A simple example I'll give you. Some time back, I got a call from I have 2 children who are studying, so I got a call from, must have been something that I was checking out some time back. Got a call from a big edtech company, and it spoke about new sessions available for 12th graders. Would you be interested in knowing what they are? Me being me in the technology field, I wanted to test something, and I said, why not? Now, why and not by itself are both not necessarily positive words. But when you put them together, there's a very different meaning it carries. And the bot said, sorry for bothering you and taking your time, and hung up on me. It misunderstood with a keyword detection that I was not interested. Now, that's the difference between an NLP bot and a GenAI bot, where in the NLP world, you have to give specific flows, specific ways in which a bot needs to react, specific keywords that it needs to detect and talk about. Of course, this is yesteryears already, right? In the GenAI world, also there is a schism. And technology has taken leaps and bounds, but the engineering needs to follow. I'll now take the example of the GenAI gap and talk to you about how bots can be differentiated there. Again, I think Steve spoke about hallucinations. A lot of you would have heard about hallucination in the world of GenAI, right? Now, why does this hallucination happen? And what is hallucination? And a lot of you have used ChatGPT. So you start asking ChatGPT questions, and you continue the discussion. You can go on for days with ChatGPT. The way GenAI works is every single query that you have done, every single answer that the ChatGPT has given is actually buffered into a sort of a vector database. And then GenAI does a lookup on that and then gives you the answer at a very high level. Now, when that happens, the longer the conversation is, the more complex the vector DB is. As a result of which, the less likely GenAI is going to give you an answer that is making sense. So the longer you have a conversation with a GenAI bot, it is more prone for hallucination. And the resultant of this is bots will now start saying things that they're not supposed to, which is what hallucination means, right? So most of the GenAI bots also today are implemented using a technology called LangChain, which is a chaining of these conversations. That needs to change into what we call as LangGraph. And LangGraph works the way humans work. You guys have engineering department, product department, infosec department, finance department, each one having a separate objective of themselves, all working together for a larger good of the organization. There is a way to design bots in such a way that each of these objectives are given to sub-LLMs and they all work together to come about giving the final objective. That's called the Lang graph methodology. It's a little expensive, but that is very robust for hallucinations. Now, I'll still say it is robust, but not impossible to hallucinate. It can still hallucinate, but it reduces it significantly. Right? So be aware of what kind of bots you're getting when you talk about not just NLP versus GenAI, but within GenAI as well. Right? Now, with this backdrop, let me now introduce you what I call as AMC. We'll start with the first one. All of you would have heard about Copilot. Microsoft popularized this, right? A show of hands of who knows Copilot? Great. So this is where bots are actually helping humans, right? So AI is assisting agents. So you now use AI to get quick queries answered, fingertip things given to you so that you can address the customer easily. Now, of course, the advantage of this is it's very safe because at the end of the day, it is the human who is interacting with the customer. So he's not going to hallucinate. It is as good as what it is today, so it is safe. However, the incremental return on investment for a GenAI-based Copilot is not very high. You still have the human agent. His time is going to reduce by maybe about 20%. Right? So think in that direction. Now, this is on the one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, I think Hani asked this question to some of you replied that it's fully autonomous, right? So it's fully autonomous. Of course, great ROI. Don't need humans. Humans are replaced by bots. Lot cheaper. Human salaries are going to increase with time. Bots cost is going to decrease with time. So this is a definitive gain, right? But CX is risky. Like I spoke about in the previous slide, hallucinations are a constant threat. So it is possible for the bot to do something bad. And unfortunately, any human intervention is post facto. So you can still say that I'm going to put a bot in the front, and then if it is not able to handle it, it's going to transfer it to the agents. But then if it knows it's not going to be able to handle, it would handle, right? Which means by the time it has come to the agent, it has already done the damage, purely from a CX point of view, which is what is the risk associated here. So what we are introducing is something called as agent monitored, which combines the best of both worlds. It goes something like this. Instead of the AI being the co-pilot for the human becomes the co-pilot for AI. Which means the AI is still being the front face, first line of defense for all your customer interaction, but, and this is a big but, the human is always there to keep an eye. So think of the way it transitioned from driver assist, hill hold assist was the one that was sold to me 20 years back when I bought my car, right? And now you have lane keep assist, drowsiness detection assist, and so on and so forth, where still it's the human who is doing the driving on one end to fully autonomous cars on the other end, and in between, the human is still sitting there. Most of the driving is done by the car, but the human can always take over whenever he feels it's going to be a problem. So you avoid accidents rather than learn from the accidents that have happened, right? So that's the advantage of this middle ground. Actually, more than middle ground, I would call it as best of both worlds, right? So in this construct, so I'm going to go to the next slide to help you understand how it looks and feels and works. So you now have about 4 bot conversations that are going on, which is being monitored by an agent. As you can see, the one with the green panel, bot thinks everything is going fine, the agent doesn't need to bother about it. There's an orange or a red panel where the bot thinks that it may be going wrong, but it's not sure. The human can now look at the summary, which takes him like 5 seconds, and decide whether he wants to take over or not. And you can click on the takeover, immediately the agent now takes over the conversation and does not let the customer experience suffer. In fact, we also have ways to implement what is called as a whisper. So all of you know that bots or GenAI performs better if you give it more context. So as the conversation is happening, the agent can actually give more context as part of text or voice commands and improve the experience of the customer even without needing to take over. So in the BPO parlance, think of this as L1, L2, right? So you would probably have somebody seeing over the L1 trainees as they're interacting with the customers. So it's the agents who are the L2s who are looking over the L1 trainees, which are the bots, right? So this allows for us to slide the customer experience and ROI slider. What do I mean by that? Start by having 1:1, so your gain is as good as an agent assist, and move to 1:2, 1:3, 1:4 as the bot becomes better. The best part of this is as and when you do the whispers and inputs to the bot is actually learning. It's learning from the instructions that it is being given. So if it knows that I have to handle a certain situation that I encountered today was given as a whisper, the next time it's going to learn from that and not make the same mistake. So over a period of time, it's almost literally like training an L1 to become an L2. Over a period of time, you have the advantage of keeping an eye on the bot all the time, yet improving it. And that's the advantage that you get with this best of the both worlds. Now, with this, put all the three together. Start with the AMC, where you are giving the inputs from the human for the bots to do better, the conversation outcome of which is assessed by the conversational quality analysis, using which you make the decision of whether the bot instructions that the human gave should be learned or not, right? Which can be overseen by another agent, which feeds into the context over multiple conversation with the customer, which now feeds back into the AMC, which helps the bot address the very first conversation with the context a lot better than it could. Now, as you can imagine, as you run through this loop, back and forth, each of these modules feed into each other with an oversight of the human, which makes the overall experience of the customer better, and over a period of time reducing the cost of your GenAI, and hopefully resulting in a much better revenue, which is the transformative nature of GenAI that we foresee. But again, like I said, the technology exists. This is the engineering schism that you need to cross. And this is what we call as AI-human harmony. In fact, we are building a product called Harmony with the reflection of what it means, which helps in the AI-human harmony. So a quick one about Exotel. So I won't bore you by repeating what is there on the slide. And our mission is this, to deliver technologies that transform communication between humans and companies, hopefully through AI-human collaboration. So meet us at the booth if you have more questions. I think I've taken enough time. Thank you.
So much for your session, and if anyone have any questions, you can meet him outside the booth. So yes, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Rizwan Sheikh, Associate VP, Product Management at IKS Health, to do the honors.